students, welcome back with me, Ma'am Erna, and in this video we are going to study the last material is narrative text. That will be the last material in this semester. I believe that all of you have already know about narrative text, but to make sure it again, please follow this video until the end. And in the last video I give you an example about narrative text. Check it out.
Hey students, this is the explanation of narrative text. In narrative text, we have to know the definition, the purpose, generic structure, and the last, language features. The definition of narrative text is a story with complication or problematic events, and it tries to find a resolution to solve the problems. So in this narrative we can find problems and study to how to solve in every problems. The purpose of narrative text is to amuse or entertain the reader with a story. When we read narrative text, the writer wants us to feeling happy or sad because of the story. And for the generic structures of narrative text, we have 4 parts. The first is orientation, the second is complication, the third resolution, and the fourth reorientation or coda. Orientation, it means sets the scenes where and when the story happened, and also introduces the participants of the story, who and what is involved in the story. Complication, it means tells the beginning of the problem, which leads to the crisis or climax of the main participants. Here, the beginning of the problems. You can find in complications part. And after that we go to the resolution. Resolution here means that the problem or the crisis is resolved, either in happy ending or in a sad or tragic ending. Depend on the writer. If the writer wants to make happy ending, the story will be a happy ending. But if the writer wants to create or make a story with sad ending, of course the writer will find the resolution of the story but in sad ending. After that, in the fourth part, reorientation or coda. This is a closing remark to the story, and it is optional. It consists of a moral lesson, advice, or teaching from the writer. Here, if you find a story, a narrative, and then in the end of the story you can find the moral value. That's the writer wants, after you read their stories, you can understand something that you have learned in their stories. And the last part is language features. In every narrative, you can check that they use simple past tense or past tense. It means that because the story happened in the past, so you have to memorize or verb to or the second verb. For example, here the first past, so the second verb or verb to past. Drink, drank, yeah. And except that adverb of time also. Once upon a time, one day. After that, time conjunction. When, then, suddenly. Or maybe the specific character too. The character of the story is specific and not general. Yeah, one person. For example, here the title is Cinderella, Snow White, Alibaba. This is very common for us. Also, they have action verbs. A verb is show an action. Past, dog, walk. But all in verb 2, the second verb. Direct speech. Yeah, it is to make the story lively. Here an example. Snow White said, "My name is Snow White." The direct speech uses in present tense. Well, okay, if you can understand 4 parts here after you know the definition, the purpose, generic structure, and language feature. But not only that, you have to memorize too. 4 parts in generic structures: orientation, complication, resolution, and reorientation. I hope that you can remember this after you practice, after you read a lot. Okay, that's students. So like I told you before that I want to give you an example, an example of narrative text. In this video, I choose one of the story. This is very common story about the ugly duckling. I will read this story and later we can try to find 4 parts in generic structure: orientation, complication, resolution, and reorientation. So you can listen this story. This is the story from me. The ugly duckling. Once upon a time, a mother duck sat on her eggs. She felt tired of sitting on them. She just wishes the eggs would break out. Several days later, she got her wish. The egg cracked and some cute little ducklings appeared. Peep, 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 peep. The little ducklings cried, "Quack, quack." Their mother greeted in return. However, the large eggs had not cracked. The mother duck sat on it for several days. And finally, it cracked and a huge, ugly duckling went out. The mother duck looked at him in surprise. He was so big and very gray. He didn't look like the others at all. He was like a turkey. When the mother duck brought the children to the ponds for their first swimming lesson, The huge grey duckling splashed and paddled about just as nicely as the other ducklings did. This is not a turkey chick. He is my very own son and quite handsome, the mother's duck said proudly. However, the other animals didn't agree. They hissed, made fun of him day by day. Even his own sister and brothers very unkind. You are very ugly, they quacked. The little poor duckling was very unhappy. I wish I look like them, he thought to himself. One day, the ugly duckling ran away and hid in the bushes. The sad duckling lived alone through the cold and snow winter. And finally, the spring flowers began to bloom. While he was swimming in the ponds, he saw 3 large white swans swimming toward him. Oh dear, these beautiful birds will love and peck me too, he said to himself. But the swans did not attack him. Instead, they swam around him and stroked him with their bills. As the ugly duckling bent his neck to speak to them, he saw his reflection in the water. He could not believe in his eyes. I am not an ugly duckling, but a beautiful swan, he exclaimed with his new friends, and was happier than he had never been. Well, students, that's the example of narrative text. I hope that you can understand and try to find by yourself how to find in every part of the narrative text. Try to find based on the text, orientation, complication, resolution, and reorientation. Okay, this is all for me. See you in the next material. Bye bye.